path of liberty, in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection, and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Era TT Radio. Net Radio.
From Ohio, spending holiday in Scarborough. Time up here, want to go. Why, brother, I really don't know. Immigration told the old man, you're now a prohibited immigrant. Listen, sire, the time expires. We would like to know where you really want. He said, all them Tobago girl, tick, tick, tick like a new sponge ball. Them formation hall, easy at all, pretty as a doll. Me, I love them sweet Tobago girl. West, north and south, I have seen women all about, but they cannot compare with these you have done here. When they walk in, background shaking, pretty teeth and eyes that just seem to glow. What they eating, what they drinking, how them looking, so I would like to know. I love them sweet Tobago girls.
Wake up, rise up. It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
Well, good morning to you, Trinidad. Good morning to Tobago. Good morning to our neighbors in the Caribbean, our friends who are streaming all around the globe. Good day to you.
Nice
And yes, sir,
butterball.
thank you so much for being here and choosing us. This is New Era TT Radio,
Be them all.
the heartbeat of the Caribbean.
Sweet Tobago.
And we seek to take you above and beyond. So glad to be getting up with you this morning. Gotta give God thanks and praises for bringing us together for another day, and everything that we do, dear God, I ask that it be a blessing on to you. Keep on yours truly, Sir Charles, in your company. And happy am I to be here with you in the land of the living. As a friend of mine says, you're above ground. So that alone is enough to be thankful. Mighty Sparrow in the background there as we celebrate. Everybody would have done the celebrations yesterday, and that's it. We're celebrating with the Mighty Sparrow all week here on the Era TT Radio. So as I said, happy am I to be here with you in the land of the living. Remember, this is the Get Up and Go. We welcome you to Net Radio Breakfast Show.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line. Let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Oh, good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show, energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
Check 1 2. Check your microphone. Nice.
No. Yeah, well.
Oh gosh, wait, hold on. Hold on. Can't believe what's going on here.
Yep, that's it. Okay. So good morning to our listeners and viewers wherever you are across the planet, and welcome to the Breakfast Show this morning. Of course, it is Thursday, so the weekend begins tonight, people, at a second after midnight. Believe it or not, we are already at the weekend. Of course, we're also at the end of the school term. I'm right that school, but I know some schools are out already. Am I right, Sir Charles?
Yeah, since last week.
Schools.
Exam finished last week Friday, and with most people and most of them home.
Yeah. But tomorrow is actually the official end of the school term.
Yeah, tomorrow is the actual official term. But most primary schools today would be like they're getting their reports and stuff.
Right. Because I've been driving around. I mean, I was in town sometime earlier this week, and I felt there was less traffic, and I was like, but I knew, I kept thinking it was last week. So I knew it was this week because you all corrected me. So I said, well, okay, like some people are already out.
Yeah.
Because the traffic seemed noticeably less already. Even by the time when schools, when schools finish for the day, usually there's a huge bump in traffic. And I was in town around that time, and I was like, obviously people are out of school already. So tomorrow is officially the last day of school for this school term, and of course, students across Trinidad and go into summer vacation or August holidays, whichever one you want to call it, whatever suits your fancy. Put it, whatever suits your fancy, wear that hat and wear it proudly. Some people call it summer vacation, some people call it August holidays. Some people just get upset, oh my God, we have no summer here. I really don't care. If you want to call it summer vacation, that's your business. If you want to call it August holidays, that's also your business. Do whatever you want to do. It's a free world. Make yourself happy. And Of course, well, tomorrow, as usual, will be our day where we speak to you exclusively, and you can bring up whatever topic you want. But today we have an exciting show. We have Larry Lalla, Senior Counsel, in the next hour. And he's going to be weighing in on a lot of the legal issues in terms of the possible Chancellor of the Judiciary, what he thinks of that, the issue of the raising the legal age proposed raising the legal age for alcohol use and gambling and marijuana as suggested by the current administration, and other things that have been going on. We can bring up all the legislation that's come up so far, the Prime Minister's Amendment Pension Bill, all of that. So Larry Lalla, Senior Counsel, is going to weigh in on all of that in the next hour. So that should be, obviously, he always is very articulate on whatever his views are on various issues. So you can look forward to that in the next hour. But I want to say a special good morning to everybody again. We know you have a choice of whom you listen to on a morning, of whom you watch on a morning, and we're glad you chose us. Wendell may or may not be joining us this morning. We're not sure at this point. He said he was going to try. So we'll see if he does make it.
Yeah, but we know he will do his very best. So that is, regardless of whatever he's doing, he says once there's a space, he's going to jump in between there. But he has some business he's doing today. So, yeah.
Yep. All right. So I suppose I could just swing one time straight into our good news segment for this morning.
Number 1, wake up from the loop. You weren't put on this earth just to pay bills, play safe, and watch Netflix. You didn't come here to wake up, work, numb yourself with distractions, and then repeat it all over again the next day. That's not a life. You could write, build, learn something new. You could create something that makes no logical sense but feels like you. The point was never to survive, but to remember who you came here to be. Number 2, vague goals equals delayed life. What kills more dreams than failure ever will is saying, I'll do it later. Your brain loves vague goals because then you never have to act. Sure, you want to start a business? Cool, so do 3 million people. But what's the first thing you're actually going to do this week? If you don't put a name, a date, and a tiny bit of pressure on it, it stays in fantasy land forever. So make the deadline, write it down, and hit it. That's how dreams become real. Number 3, master the boring stuff. Successful people aren't smarter or more talented than you. They're just better at being consistent with stuff that is not always fun. The gym is boring, tracking habits is boring, making content when no one's watching is boring, but they do it anyway. Success doesn't come from motivation, it comes from repetition, from showing up when it's dull, awkward, and unsexy. And boring things become sacred when you realize they're the ones that are actually building the life you want. So there you go. And notice that I didn't ask you to wake up at 4 a.m. to take cold baths or to buy some fancy biohacking gadget. Just a few simple things that actually work if you do them.
All right. Just a little bit of an inspiration for you there this morning.
Ooh, boy, it's some of those things just jolt you into that kind of reality, and it really makes you look at life,
Yeah. Many times people say all sorts of things like, I want to, whatever it is, whatever their dream is, I want to be an actor. Let's say I be an actor. I want to be an actor, but I wonder how to get into that, but you know what? I'll find out next week. And then next week, I'll find out next month. Yeah. I'm busy with work, You know what? I must make the attempt, but I'll do that tomorrow. And then tomorrow never comes because you just keep postponing it, and, it's very easy for that to happen.
What? And then you reach the end of your life, and the saying is that I always wanted to be,
Yep.
And I had the opportunity, I didn't take it then. And I wonder if, seize the opportunities now, yes?
Yeah.
Now.
So that was our good news for this morning. A little bit of inspiration for you. Leave you. But a little bit of thinking. All right. So, of course, we'll get into greeting everybody in the morning. I don't know if you have any birthdays, anybody you want to, hail out specifically before we greet people in the stream this morning, Sir Charles?
Actually, no, I don't. I just had a Facebook. I had to shoot up something for me to remember people with these something.
Well, you can't be worse than me because I am always terrible with birthdays. I always, if my phone doesn't remind me, somebody else has to remind me about birthdays. But this is one of those things. Like Wendell is excellent at birthdays. Wendell remembers birthdays. That's something that his brain is configured to remember.
I don't know how
mine is not configured to remember birthdays at all, unless you're the beginning of a month or the end of a month or something like that, there is some reason for me to remember the day because of where it falls in the month. Out the window.
I remember once when Richard, that my son, who's my DJ, right? So I remember his birthday like the week before. It's coming up. And then I remember the day before. It's coming up. And I forgot it on the actual day. I got into all different kinds of things, did not forget it. And then he calls me in the night now. Daddy, how you doing? I say, all right, how things with you? I am very good. You forget my birthday? I was like, so yeah. So that is just to give you an idea of how bad I am with birthdays.
That is very possible to happen. Very possible.
Ooh.
I understand totally. All right, so we'll get into greeting people who are on the stream this morning. And so let's get to it. All right, so it starts off with Boy Badesi. He's from DB. He says, good morning, everyone. So good morning, Boy Badesi. Anthony Tinto, Grand Rising to the Breakfast Crew and all locked on Shalom. So good morning, Anthony Tinto. Garfield Hazel, good morning to all on the breakfast show. You can't sleep. These are all of the people who were very early this morning. Erica Charles, thank God for sparing our lives to see another beautiful day. She's from Morvan. DL, good morning, guys. Good morning, DL. Susan Jessup, good morning. And Sir Charles, Richard, Wendell, love always Susan, Suzette, and Miss Gemma. But of course, Susan would have sent best sleep ever, Wendell. Subash Mungal. Good morning, everyone from Woodland. Marcia Rock, good morning to the breakfast crew locked on in Orlando, Florida. To have a great day.
I'm reversing your role today.
What's that?
I say I'm reversing your role. Good morning, Marcia.
Militia for Sharflair, good morning. Marlon Butley, good morning, Marlon. So he says good morning to everyone. Carol Guevara, blessed and beautiful Thursday morning, all. A grand rising gentleman and breakfast crew, so says Magic. Alistair Hart, good morning. Robert Taylor, good morning, Robert. He says good morning, guys. Juliet saying good morning to the breakfast show team and to all listeners and viewers. Have a wonderful day. That's from Sherwin Kerr. He and Juliet are saying good morning to us. Wendy and James, good morning. Richard, Wendell, and Sir Charles. Weekend is near. Weekend is so near, Wendy. So near. Anne-Marie Watson, good morning, guys. Blessings. Ava Smith, blessed morning, breakfast crew, and all locked on. Have a successful and safe day. Slick Money Grip, good morning, gentlemen and crew. CJ from New York, good morning, CJ.
Morning, CJ.
And she said, good morning, everyone. To have a wonderful day. Love always. Morris Ferguson, good morning to Norris Ferguson. I said Morris. Norris Ferguson, good morning to everyone. Good morning, Norris. Joyce Phillip, top of the morning, guys.
Morning, Joycey.
Blessed morning, guys. And TNT, have a wonderful day. So says Cheryl Johnson. And Noel, good morning to the breakfast crew. Oshawa and all listening. Of course, that's Japan. Good morning, guys, from Michelle Sedek. Wayne Ramsey says good morning, guys. Odell Guy says good morning. Blessings to all. Lambert Bruce from El Dorado says good morning, guys. Lyndon Williams says good morning to all. Dan Payne, good morning, Net, and all on the live chat. Have a good day. Mogain says good morning, gentlemen, and the breakfast family. Rena Jennings, good morning, blessings. Michael Robinson, good morning to Charles Wendell Richard from Yokohama, Japan.
Hey, morning, Michael.
Have a great day. Kathy and Charles, blessed morning to everyone. Good morning, Kathy Ann. Alistair Hart. Oh, he was talking about the echo. Blessed morning, gents. Josie Richardson. Hey, where's Wendell? Unseen Hands, Grand Rising Peeps. Garvin Frank says good morning. Carlisle Cupid, the successful direction from the public aid interest from major campaign promises to low-hanging fruit like the legal age of alcohol occupiers. Okay. Evans David, good morning. Wendell Sir Charles and Richard.
Morning, Evans.
Trinidad Margot says good morning. Ossie Molino says good morning. Margaret Thomas says good morning, guys. Claire Lendo Rollins says good morning and all. Say happy birthday to Alistair Rollins for me, please. Well, happy birthday, Alistair Rollins. We were wondering whose birthday was today. Yeah, so happy birthday to you. Blessings to Charles Wendell Richard. Have a blessed day. That's from Hillbench. Who's this? Lennox Francois. Good morning, gentlemen. Have a wonderful day. And he's, of course, in Baltimore. Carl M. Jack. Good blessed morning to all from Baghdad.
We have somebody from Baghdad?
Yeah. Ambrose Blanc. Morning to the crew. Andrew Joseph says good morning. Cat Consulting. Well, Grand Rising, gentlemen. I find when I'm taking a lot of days off.
Don't worry, HR will look at
you. Wendell. From Chris Tusa. Valerie Mendoza, good morning to the breakfast team. Ron DeSantis Jr., good morning from the crumbling Empire State town of Wales. Oh, in Wales.
In Wales now. Oh, my word.
Good morning from the state of New York, town of Wales. So you're making sure we know it's Wales, New York. Garfield Hazel. So Kamala made a commitment to the OECS when there was the partnership and never kept it. Okay. Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Susan Jessup, twin sister. I suppose being love you all to Charles Richard and Wendell. So Elizabeth is Susan Jessup's twin sister.
Yeah.
Okay. Slumber 97, pleasant day to all. But Elizabeth is back on, saying love you all. Love you back, Elizabeth. Helen McCarthy from Princestown said blessed days to you, blessed raises to you guys. Julia S. Batiste, good morning. Good morning, Julia. And Elizabeth, Elizabeth is ready. Susan Jessup, you're going to her name, Susan. So that's it for our stream this morning in terms of people saying good morning. So good morning to everybody in our stream, and well, you all saw me highlighting them for this morning.
Yeah, let me also say good morning to the folks who came in on the WhatsApp. All right, so good morning to the folks out there at Horatio Services, and we thank you very much for being on the platform, Horatio. Far Rockaway, good day to you. Have a good day, my friend. Also to Kent, and Kent is out there in Lavatel, I think it is. So good morning to you, Kent. Oliver Manwarin, good morning. Terry and Peters, you're up very early this morning. Thank you so much. The folks at G&C Auto Security, the Archbishop Ashton Clark out there in Canada. Captain Ron, he's out there in Orlando. Good morning to you, Captain Ron. Any flying today? He has a wonderful job, you know, Richard. Yeah. Also to Mr. Billy in the Powder Magazine. Good day to you, Mr. Billy. You and your crew down there. To Joel Blaze. I don't know where Joel is located, but good morning. To Frank Andrews out there in Aruka. A very special good morning to you. and to Mark, Mr. Beeps. Mr. Beeps is down in Pity Valley, I think it is. So, yeah, good day to everybody on the chat so far. Yeah, that's it, Richard, for our greetings this morning.
All right. So, of course, I mean, we'll get into the news headlines shortly on the three dailies this morning, before we open up the lines and then before we get to our morning poll. As I said, we have Larry Lalla, Senior Counsel, in the next hour. He'll be joining us to discuss a lot of the issues and the legal issues, the legal agenda so far, as we see it with regard to the current administration, and what he thinks about what you're seeing happen so far.
Yeah, that would be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, so he'll be joining us, as I said, in the next hour. Apparently, there was something that went on in no man's land. I'm not so sure about that story. Do you know what that was, Sir Charles?
No, I'm not. I'm not too sure. That is, I wonder if it's the same thing with the with some bodies that they found, or body that they found. Is that it?
Restore operators in Tobago have begun boycotting no man's land following a brawl aboard Cool Runnings glass bottom boat, which later continued at the popular Liming location. So that sounds like a full-fledged bacchanal took place on the beach.
It's ownership.
Yeah, so videos of the incident on social media showed three men severely beating a man aboard the vessel. Another video showed a man with a cutlass fighting with another man in the sand on no man's land.
What madness is this?
Speaking with the newspaper on July 8th, Michael Frank, owner of Frankie Tours, said enough is enough as he lamented the lack of security there. In one of the videos, a voice is heard on a speaker calling for all Frankie Tours clients to get on the vessel immediately to leave no man's land. We have boycotted no man's land. It's too much. It's bringing way too much of unnecessary stress and pressure to us, the operators, Frank said. He said no man's land was never a part of the initial tour, as it was always Boca Reef and Island Pool. He said no man's land was added during the COVID-19 pandemic when there was no snorkeling allowed. So patrons were given a trip to no man's land as a bonus. But what happens now is that no man's land has become a free-for-all in that many persons now flock there. He said Cool Runnings had nothing to do with the incident as it was just parked in the area. The fight, he said, originated at the Island Pool, noting that the guys in the fight were related to others who were lining at no man's land. They jumped out with their cutlass, ran on top of the glass bottom boat to attack a guy and slapped him with a cutlass. The glass bottom boat was filled with people, children. You don't do that. You have to respect the glass bottom boat. So basically, there caused a whole big commotion and a whole set of children crying. We can't tolerate that. We just find it was too much disrespect. And we as the operators decided that we would boycott the stop. He said tour operators continue to unfairly get the blame for incidents at no man's land. So we are fed up of taking all the blame. So hence our stance. And once we don't go there, there is no blame to take. He said the tour boats visiting no man's land generated a lot of revenue there. Jobs were created by this added stop. There are now so many vendors across there who do a lot of self-employment stuff, from crafts to arts to sell drinks and food. There are many vendors on no man's land. All of them are now out of jobs. Literally, all of them are on the breadline, because if the glass bottoms boats not going there, it means that nobody is going there.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I mean, I can't remember seeing that on my stream, but obviously, it's serious enough that the boats are now saying you're not going to go to no man's land anymore.
But how do things like these? Okay, you have a one-off situation, yes, okay, and then they keep continuously happening. And where's the Coast Guard who was supposed to be, making sure that there's peace and people are in that area doing what they have to do. Where's the law in that whole thing?
Well, I can't answer you. I
Because,
mean, the Coast Guard may not, the Coast Guard, because the incident is happening sometimes starting on the boats and then going to the land, according to what this article said. But for me, you can't really fault the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard not going to think that people who are going to Boca Reef and Island Pool are suddenly going to be in a brawl on no man's land.
No, but if you're hearing of it, and that's what I'm saying, because remember you're talking about safety and tourism and that, so all those things.
I believe those are isolated incidents that may have occurred, but that's something like, alcohol, people drinking, and it degenerated into some sort of stupidity. But that's what happens. And what the glass bottom boats are obviously doing is that they're self-regulating and saying, look, they can't behave in going to no man's land. We're not going to go anymore.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at it from the aspect of the fact that if something is happening and somebody, I'm sure, would have called the police or somebody, because I am on a boat, cutlass, my children, I would have been on my phone calling somebody for assistance. You understand? Where is the assistance that is in a space like Tobago, where we are talking tourism and and a safe space? Who is going to make sure that space remains safe? Why does it have to escalate out of control before they step in to deal with these issues?
Yeah. I mean, no man, but I suppose the security of, I hear you, and I assume people may have called. I don't know. We don't know that, but of course that would be unknown.
But he didn't hear anything about any police coming, or any.
No. He said he just, the guy that was speaking just referenced the fact that there should be more security on the beach. But that whole building up of no man's land. Now I've seen the tours going there because sometimes you watch videos of visitors to Trinidad and Tobago vlogging on Tobago and Trinidad generally, and they would talk about going on those tours. And they end up on no man's land. They always talk about that and the food that's available and the drinks and the general good lining that takes place. So it means, obviously, it's been something since COVID, and it has become something on the internet. Anytime you see vendors turn up consistently, it means it's now become something.
Yeah.
And now, of course, the boats are saying, well, we're not going there anymore. So if you're planning to go online on no man's land, we are not going there. And of course, the vendors will suffer. So
it's not just there, because you look at it, and I'm hearing about the situation, but I look at the security aspect of it. Where is the help? This is almost as bad as the man with the tomatoes yesterday.
Well, the man with tomatoes is kind of worse in a sense, because no man's land. Remember, since COVID, according to the article, they have been going to no man's land, and generally it would have been incident free. So obviously the police or Coast Guard wouldn't have think.
We should not be there to make sure it stays in.
Wouldn't have thought. I wouldn't say wouldn't have thought. Had not seen it as a security issue.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have, but they obviously didn't see it as that.
Yeah.
But recently, obviously, because of the the difficulties with large groups, I guess, anytime alcohol sharing to them, all kind of crap has take place.
And if you're forward thinking, you would recognize all of these things. Why is it that we have
2020 vision post incidences, such as, you expect people to be behaving, and police can't be everywhere, and these are beaches, that you expect.
No, we can't be everywhere, but I would expect when things happen that we are there. There should be some response coming, and we don't have responses coming to things. And that is a frustrating thing for anybody who is on a boat. That means anybody. So pirates could meet you out there and rob you then.
No. So I'm trying to see if I see the video, but I know there are probably people in the stream who have the video. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we should have some sort of unit to be able to respond to these situations. You know, if God forbid something happened like what happened in Texas, and some wave and their boat turn over, and who's coming to help?
And but of course, they're calling no man's land lawless. So meaning, exactly what you're saying, there's no security or whatever. I don't know what the Tobago House of Assembly is looking at it, or they would have, of course, been apprised of the incident. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
I am not again, because I know people will do stuff. They will, they will get out of hand. They will drink. But I am just always, astonished that the response, should be different to these things. And it happens all over. When something happens, there's never a proper, pleasing response to the public on these things. So here you are out in the middle of the ocean on your boat with your children, the woman with the little children hugging up, they pulling them. So you don't know if a man want to chop you if you get involved, and you just have to wait out this whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
That's frightening.
It is, and well,
yeah, frightening.
And no man's land is beautiful. The surrounding area is very, very pretty. So, it's a pity that it has to degenerate to this. But it is what it is. But maybe we could do our headlines at this point, and then open up the lines.
Okay, so where do you want to start?
I will start with the Newsday. I will start with that headline. I could probably do the Newsday and the Express, and you could do the Guardian.
Okay.
So I'll start with the headlines for the Newsday for this morning. And of course, stakeholders want answers on surge in patients at Scarborough Hospital. That was a kind of strange story yesterday.
Yeah.
I saw that story yesterday, that there was a surge in patients at Scarborough Hospital, so that they had limited bed space. All of a sudden, there was a surge. And I found that strange and maybe concerning. But obviously, it's still in the news. So stakeholders want answers on surge in patients at Scarborough Hospital in Tobago. A mixed reaction to government's plan to raise legal use age. Of course, the members of the public have different opinions on it. Some support, some don't. Griffith supports increasing legal age for alcohol, marijuana, and gambling. But he just talks about effective enforcement. I'm not a fan. Well, I'm not a fan. I'm like, if you want to raise the age of majority, raise the age of majority. But don't, once you're 18, that seems to be kind of mimicking US legislation. I am concerned that this government is a little copy and pasting of the US conservative approach to how you govern. They just seem to be copy and pasting the Republican Party in a lot of ways, in my opinion. I find that concerning, and of course, you just need to be vigilant of whether it's good for TNT or not. But that's just my opinion. I'm just one person. Mechanic found dead in garage, and tour operators boycott lawless no man's land after bloody brawl. PNM government's attack on independent senators, a trend to dictatorship, and South Police nab 4 for gun and ammo possession. I don't know if you want to do the Guardian while I get the Express.
No problem. Yes, I'll do the Guardian now. In the Guardian, people back to court. PNM files new legal action for fired CPEP contractors. So you see that is a back and forth situation. UNC officials, minister tells president, we are not picking on you. And there's another story, criticism of president, nothing to do with being a woman. Opposition says it will fight government for attack on independent bench. Sparrow at 90, I will take as much as I could handle. And there's another story, Faris Alwari wants data behind move to increase school age limit. of course, data is very important, Students welcome changing the age for alcohol use. So that is a very interesting development there.
Oh, please, that sounds like PR.
You rail against this thing,
No, don't try and spin it in all kind of stupid directions. That's your position, and that's a position to have. That's fine.
Well,
and there's people that will disagree. I'm just one of those that disagree.
Well, okay, so others agree. Brown, PMO's explanation to TNT for her absence from CARICOM, and I think she already told them that she was dealing with matters of state. San Fernando West Secondary listed for priority repairs, and Minister Elder meets Met Service on staff shortage. All right, so that is the Guardian there. Richard?
All right, so the Daily Express for this morning, I was just reading on one of the articles that I saw in the Daily Express. Contractor files for injunction against CPEP, and that's one of the main headlines. Padarath and Gonzalez clash over Wassa lease and contracts, so a war of words continues to erupt between them. TNT dealt a thrashing to Trinidad and Tobago under 19 men's Trinidad and Tobago under 19 men's team suffered a second consecutive defeat in the West Indies Rising Stars under 19 50 over championships, tumbling to a 93-run defeat to USA won at St. Mary's Park in St. Kitts Nevis yesterday. So that's also in the headlines. Defense Force resumed Caribbean Cup preparation. Murdered grandpa takes homicide toll past 200 for 2025. Attorney Martin George appears in court and asks for bail. I think bail was set at $150,000, if I am correct. So long, Soca Warriors. TTFA announces team name survey. And
Richard, hold on right there. You see that story? You have any idea of a poll for today?
Not yet.
All right, okay.
I want to pull that. You mean it Soca Warriors?
Yeah, I feel I should probably read a little bit of that when we get back.
Well, that was actually one of these stories. After more than 25 years, the Trinidad and Tobago men's football team may be dropping the Soca Warriors nickname. Of course, they've always been fondly known as the Soca Warriors. But apparently, in a post yesterday, the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, a call was issued at fans to help provide a new name for the team. And this is because I believe negotiations broke down with the copyright holder, who's Selwyn Melville. Am I right, Sir Charles?
Yeah, apparently so.
Selwyn Melville is the copyright owner of the name Soca Warriors, and they negotiate with him for the use of the name, and apparently those negotiations fell through, so they're not going to use the name Soca Warriors anymore. So in an attempt to resolve what the name would be, the TTFA said, we want you to help shape the future of our national men's football team. We are on the hunt for a name that truly reflects the spirit, pride, culture, and strength of our people, a name that carries the energy of Trinidad and Tobago wherever we play. What do you think our team should be called? The post asked. Readers were then directed to a Google form link to submit their suggestions and comments. The post also used the hashtags name the team, Trinidad and Tobago, we are TNT. Veteran sports broadcaster Selwyn Melville coined the nickname Soca Warriors in 1998 during a senior men's match between TNT and El Salvador. In the US, the name grew in popularity and became the team's moniker both locally and globally. The team was called Soca Warriors during the successful 2006 FIFA World Cup qualifying campaign, and the nickname was immortalized in the song Fighter by MX Prime, then called Maximus Dan, which was a tribute to the squad, including the line, I'm a Soca Warrior. I saw win or lose. I am a fighter.
Yeah.
Melville in 2005 began a lengthy legal battle with various TTFA administrations over the ownership of the name. In March 2020, then TTFA President William Wallace announced the matter had been settled and the money earned from Soca Warriors' name would be shared. In September 2022, Melville announced he had received a trademark certificate for the term Soca Warriors from the Intellectual Property Office. So apparently, whatever negotiations with Melville fell through, and they're saying, okay, we're not using the name Soca Warriors anymore. Basically, as a quick précis of it.
Yeah.
So we're not using the name no more, or they help us name the team. That is what the TTFA is doing. So it could be the subject of our poll this morning. But at this point, we could open up the line, Sir Charles.
Yes, we can.
To take take calls from some of our listeners. And I'll just put up the information for them to get interactive with us on this Thursday morning.
All right. So, yes, the numbers are up. And for those of you who are listening and may not be viewing, you can call us at 281-1315. That's 281-1315. Good morning, caller. Welcome to New Era TT Radio.
Good morning, Sir Charles.
Good morning, Davide.
Richard.
Morning.
So, my beef this morning, yesterday I was searching my head to tell you the truth. But this new government, this UNC government, who has 26 seats, and plus the Trinidad and Tobago could add, who has a majority in parliament, who is trying to do everything possible to change up a lot of things. And to me, some of those same things we were accused, some of the things we were accusing PNM of being dictatorial and all of that, to me, what they are doing is even worse. And then I thought of the Lord Chancellor, especially the word Lord Chancellor, like we back into colonial days, Lord Chancellor. They want to change that. Everything is so, and they're not telling us, people wouldn't appreciate it so much, She said, the Prime Minister said that they will have public consultation. Tell me how much public consultation they're going to have now. To me, that is a fait accompli already. And I am worried that a lot of things are going to happen in Trinidad where we, the citizens, can't do anything about, because they said for them, they have a majority. And then they want to get the independent senators on their side, so they're bashing all of them who don't vote along their lines. So they will try, to me, they're frightening them. But I mean, those are adults, professionals, and so on. That one just like water over the back. But to the person who really doesn't understand, they might feel, they're forcing them to vote in a certain way. And it just, to me, not sounding like our country. We just sounded like a country that has a dictator as a leader and just saying, do as I say. So it will get worse, and I will just hate to see that. So you all have a good day, and Wendell, good morning wherever you are. Bye.
Yeah. Good morning, Davide. Well, I think every government that comes in has their mandate and things that they would like to see change. If a government feels that something is not working and has not been working, and they are championing that cause while they're in opposition, and they campaigned on a lot of things also, and they have a strong mandate, as they do, I think any government will try and deliver on the promises that they made to get into power. Yeah.
Well, you have a strong mandate within the capacity of who voted. Remember, 47% of the country did not vote.
Well, you have no control over that.
Right. And so
if they vote, that's all a problem.
Yeah, but of the 53% of the country that voted, a percentage voted for you. So you have to look at the mandate within the context of the 1.4 million people that occupy the space. So they got a strong mandate from those who voted, but it's not an overall strong mandate from a perspective of the entire country.
Yeah, but there's
So you have to contextualize it a little bit in terms of that.
But I think if
But
we look at it that way, because everybody is given a choice to vote, and if you don't vote, somebody will make choices for you.
yeah, well, that's the trade-off. So,
Yeah. So,
of
but
those who voted, so in other words, 47% did not feel motivated enough to vote for either party. Okay, so it's 47%, which is close to half of the country, did not feel motivated to pay either of the party. So you still need to be mindful of that, whether it was PNM that won or whether it is the UNC has won and has won by a strong margin with regard to of course, the face-off with the PNM. But you still need to be mindful of that as you rule, because you're ruling for all of us.
all right, so let's
That's the point I'm making.
Kola, good morning to you.
Good morning. I would have bet money that, okay, when they led it this morning, or they will take calls earlier this morning. But they talk about that water thing for 8 minutes, and they still end up taking calls at 6:50. Anywho,
Thanks, producer.
You paying us or what?
and anywho, it's amazing how human beings think. So you had somebody who came onto the boat apparently with a cutlass, and the boat was scattered to go to No Man's Island, fighting, seal, whatever. Your choice of action now is not to put security measures on the boat, put a security on the boat, put a police on the boat. Your choice now is to, here we're going, we ain't going No Man's Island again. That makes absolutely no sense in my mind. You understand? So you disenfranchising now the vendors who sell things at No Man's Island, the all different jobs that exist, because you don't want to put security measures on your boat for people. You ain't put no drinking on the boat, you ain't put no alcohol on the vessel. None of these things you put in place. But you look at your option now is we ain't going No Man's Island again. I don't get it at all. But see, such as I understand your trend of thought where response is concerned. But yesterday only read an article where police didn't go with a car.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So you really expect, knowing the issues at Coast Guard, you really expect Coast Guard to have a vessel?
Yes, I expect certain contingency plans, something.
And even so, and you're right. After everything done and they come back from No Man's Land, police, Scarborough police, look where, not Scarborough, Pigeon Point police, supposed to be right there in the dock waiting for the vessel.
I agree with you. I agree with you, because they would have gotten reports from people who were witnessing the incident.
One would hope somebody would have called the police.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what the signal is like out in the waters there, but one would hope. Right? There's a factor you have to consider too. But the Pigeon Point police supposed to be at the shores waiting on the perpetrators.
Of course.
Because that's and you're right, Lincoln, because that is the best way to make sure that it doesn't happen again when people are held accountable.
Yeah, it is. You know, even just like that. But then let's take the call. Call up. Good morning to you.
It's morning.
Morning, Mr. Patrick.
When there's funeral, Mr. Abubakar, morning.
Good morning, Mr. Patrick.
I know this is Chalo say people had a chance of vote. So if they didn't vote, what you say? That's nothing to say?
No, I never said
What you say?
that. I said
Well,
you
asking
had.
you?
Yeah. Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, asking you, yeah.
Oh, I see. No, you have a say, but at the end of the day, the government have a mandate that they're working with.
So you have a mandate and you're running on a certain track.
Yeah, but nothing demonstrates to us that is saying that here on the people who did not vote, that 100% of who didn't vote is against what is taking place. How do we measure the people who didn't vote, who may be in support or may not be in support? Where are we getting that?
From shows like this, from public sentiment, from social media. Get a sense of public sentiment.
There are different reasons they don't vote, Charlie. They don't force people to vote, to take a side. It's not people have no side. But when things go wrong, there will be the most resource people to speak. So when people say people don't vote, but don't talk, Something wrong with that thing, you know? So because me a vote, you could run in my house with a bulldozer, and I'm on top. Hello, that one, how we just think. Some people just think that way, but if people see you going wrong, although you're in government, I want the government to win, because as the mantra say, when we win, everybody win, right? But when you win and you're doing things that affecting people want to talk.
Well, and we are not, yeah, okay, no problem. And nobody's trying to stifle anybody from speaking. But I was just saying that the fact that if at the end of the day the government has a mandate, they have things that they would like to do. Every government does do that. They have things that they would like to do when they get into power, and they will change things. They cannot, you would not expect a government to come into power, whether it be here in the US, and continue the same trend of the last administration that got voted out. Good morning, Mr. Billy.
Thank you very much for taking my call. And I want to just say, Miss Wendell is not there. I want to say, and I hear the sentiment of some of those losers, which is PNM supporters, calling in the program and trying to twist up the thing and say, okay, the PNM lost the general election by something like 28 seats. Right? If you check the two in Tobago with the two TPP personnel, North and what you call it, South and East, they lost the West and the East seat. So I am saying that the lady who called, there's a lady who called about 2 callers or 3 callers and saying thing about the appointing Chancellor. I agree with you, Mr. Charles. The government and new government have a new mandate will put things in place that not lead to pleasing to the former government and the supporters. And that person who calling and talking about the appointing a Chancellor and how the Chancellor is going back in the colonial days. That is foolishness. She is speaking foolishness. And the learned attorney there, this guy there, Robert, he just correct her and tell her that the senator for consultation and discussions. Why they don't want to understand that PNM is not in power again. The United National Congress coalition is in charge now, and they had to accept that. I told them already, go on a holiday. Take a holiday, go to Miami, have nice places in the Caribbean, go on a holiday. Why would they continue to call every time and still continue to say PNM is out of office? And the US will have their style and the way of governing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I mean, we almost close to 7 o'clock. When I look at the clock there with Sir Charles, for the morning poll, I was trying to phrase it, correctly. But anyway, our morning poll this morning goes to that Soca Warriors story. Do you support the dropping of the name Soca Warriors for the national football team?
All right, poll time. All right, people.
Do you support the dropping of the name Soca Warriors for the national football team? That's not very elegantly stated, but I understand what I mean.
Yeah. And like I said, so people, you can start to vote on the poll.
Right, so that's our poll this morning. Do you support the dropping of the name Soca Warriors for the national football team? Apparently, the TTFA couldn't negotiate for the use of the name itself in Melville, so they're now changing the name so that it will no longer be referred to as the Soca Warriors, but whatever people suggest, they're doing a Google form vote. So, do you support the dropping of the name Soca Warriors for the national football team? That's our poll this morning. You may start voting right now, as we have a minute or so before we go to our 7 a.m. news.
All right. You want me to write?
Okay, you prefer to write them?
Yeah, I prefer to write.
Okay. All right, so let me see. Let me go to see what votes we have so far. Okay. It starts with Slick Money Grubby says no. Josie Richardson says no. Alistair says no. Miguel Gonzalez says no. Terrence Road says no. Susan Jessup says no. Diane Peen. Okay. David Singh says no. Culture Cambridge says no. Trini Gets Fit says no. Marlon Moppy says no. Kazim Mohammed says yes. Far Rockaway says, does the TT have a choice? Susan Jessup says no to the poll. Let's vote on the poll now. And Eva Smith says no. Okay. Some people are still discussing the issue of the mandate and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
DL, no. I support people getting paid for their intellectual. That's not a vote. Coffee Hazel, no. Magic, no. Kathy Ann Townsend says no. Andre, no, we don't need to call the police, Andre. It doesn't reference that. Okay. Andre says no. So that's what I have so far, Sir Charles.
All right. So we'll take the others after the 7 o'clock news. And people vote on the poll throughout the news, please. So when we come back, we'll be able to give you the results of the poll before our guests.
All right. So we ended with Andre, so we'll take it back up from there.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Thursday, July 10th, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. Medical experts are supporting Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar's proposal to raise the legal drinking age to 21 and marijuana use to 25, citing brain development and public health concerns. Former Health Minister Dr. Fuad Khan emphasized that alcohol and marijuana are widely abused and poorly regulated locally, warning that youth are mixing marijuana with other substances, leading to family breakdown and addiction. Dr. Joel Tiluk Singh explained that the human brain matures around age 25, and early substance use affects judgment, learning, and mental health. Dr. Varma Dale Singh highlighted alcohol's links to domestic violence and health issues while noting marijuana's role in motivation problems and reduced fertility. The proposed changes have received mixed public reactions. Psychiatrist Dr. Nimal Gokul has endorsed raising the marijuana age limit to 25, citing strong connections between early cannabis use and serious mental health risks. Gokul noted that early use increases schizophrenia risk, especially in those with genetic predisposition, and continued use can worsen existing mental illness. However, he cautioned that clarity is needed on enforcement, particularly regarding existing decriminalization laws. Gokul questioned whether raising the age would recriminalize young people and urged the government to provide details and safeguards before enacting legislation. Former local government minister Faris Al-Rawi is warning that 5,000 URP workers may soon lose their jobs following what he termed the government's callous treatment of CPEP employees. At yesterday's press conference, Al-Rawi said 20,000 CPEP workers were dismissed over 7 weeks, criticizing media coverage and claiming the cuts disproportionately affect specific demographics. Former Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Amory Brown criticized Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar for missing the 2025 CARICOM conference in Jamaica, saying her absence sent the wrong message with Interpol's Secretary General in attendance. Attorney Martin George has been granted $150,000 bail after being charged with indecent assault and grievous sexual assault of a female attorney at his Dundonald Street chambers in March. The 58-year-old appeared before Master Indira Chinebas yesterday and was not required to plead. His bail conditions include staying 500 meters away from the complainant and having no contact with her. George, who practices civil and criminal law, chairs the Tobago Business Chamber, and formerly served on the Police Service Commission. The matter returns to court on October 7th. Gary Aboud of Fishermen and Friends of the Sea is calling for a full necropsy on a whale shark found dead near a Chaguaramas hotel. The massive marine animal was first spotted alive on Saturday near Peak Yacht Services Marina before swimming away. By Wednesday morning, it was found dead with a visible back wound. Abood urged authorities to determine if the death resulted from vessel strike, plastic ingestion, or hydrocarbon pollution, emphasizing that we cannot protect what we don't understand. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In regional news, Caribbean countries will benefit from a renewed agreement between the Pan American Health Organization and Bloomberg Philanthropies to improve birth and death registration systems. The Data for Health initiative will help modernize registries and increase accuracy of cause of death data, as some Caribbean nations have over 20% of deaths going unrecorded. The project runs through 2027 and includes training on international classification standards and regional workshops. The Pan American Health Organization also launched an interactive dashboard to track respiratory virus trends across the region. In international news, Ukraine has endured its most intense aerial assault since the war began, with 728 drones and 13 missiles striking cities nationwide. President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed the overnight bombardment, calling it a telling message amid stalled ceasefire talks. The attack comes as US President Donald Trump reverses a brief suspension of military aid to Kiev, with reports of 10 Patriot missiles being sent. Trump, increasingly frustrated with Vladimir Putin, warned of possible 500% tariffs on nations trading with Russia. Western Ukrainian cities, including Lutsk, Lviv, and Rivne, were hit, while Russia reported 3 deaths from Ukrainian drone strikes in Kursk. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Your mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and real talk.
I can't get a rest. Get it, mother. Well, I never get more. Girl, what you're running from is what I am dying for. My food does be wasting in the house every night. I just sit the head far if I get up and take it right. So crude, ma. In the middle of the night, Harry only begging for food. Well, you're not envy you. I wish that your daddy will do what
or not. And if I am a secret, he can leave for the pot.
Morning vibes, fresh energy. This is the Net Radio Breakfast Show.
All right, everybody. So welcome inside our number 2. This is New Era TT Radio. And of course, we're streaming on M&E TV, which takes it to a number of different cable channels up and down the Eastern Caribbean. So wherever you may be, you're enjoying the show. We thank you so much. But we want you to stay on the stream, all right? Because when the TV stream ends just after 8 o'clock, yeah, you can get us on newerattradio.com. Just put New Era TT Radio in your browser, and you will be able to listen to us all day, every day we stream, all right? Let me let you know what's coming up inside of the Drive Time Exchange a little later on with journalist Tony Fraser. $6 billion has already been spent on CPEP without proper auditing done on the expenditure, and such a practice will come into focus today. And so, 2, how is the social welfare program to be transformed into a productive enterprise? Well, Tony Fraser will speak with, he has as his guest today, accountant David Walker and economist Dr. Marlene Atz. So you can join them just after 4 p.m. today on the Drive Time Exchange. And for those of you on the YouTube live feed, remember, later on this afternoon at 4 o'clock, that is your next engagement with our YouTube channel. And as you are also listening on the TV stream, please go to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe, because as Richard said, we have to reach the 100,000. We're well on the way, but we need to get there. All right, so before we get back into the show, let's hear what our sponsors have to say.
Looking for trusted, affordable security and property services? Horatio Services has you covered across Trinidad and Tobago. We offer battle security, K9 patrols, 24/7 protection, and all sorts of private investigations, discreet, professional, and effective. But that's not all. We also provide construction. From building to renovation, we bring your vision to life. Landscaping, keep your outdoors looking sharp and inviting. Maintenance, repairs, upkeep, and everything in between. At Horatio Services, you get professionalism, reliability, and personal care. Whether it's safety or property support you need, visit us at Marino Street, Arima, or call 388-7070. Today, Horatio Services, protection, precision, peace of mind.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17, come enjoy Children Iron Chef Competition. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box. course, we're back on the breakfast show this morning, and this is our second hour. So we have our guest up shortly. We'll be speaking to Senior Counsel Larry Lalla very shortly in about the next couple of minutes. We're just closing off our morning poll for this morning, and of course, our morning poll was connected to the Soca Warriors name change. So do you support the dropping of the name Soca Warriors for the national football team? And we had stopped at Andre. Let me see if there are any more votes on that stream. Sorry. So Charles.
Yeah. Go ahead. Take your time.
Margaret Thomas says no. Katie says yes. Claire Lendor Rowland says yes. Danrad says no. And is that it? Oh, some people have long paragraphs, boy.
Yeah, you have to go into all of that.
But they're not really talking about. Some of them are still talking about the issue of the right to criticize, even if you didn't vote, or what the current government is doing.
Nobody's taking that away from you.
So people are commenting on that they have a right to comment, basically.
Of course.
So somebody said last time I checked, nobody voted Kamala Queen. Papa, they're getting very
Paul
specific. Did I mention Michael Robinson? He says no. Ron DeSantis Jr. says no. And Trini Faso says no. And Anne-Marie Watson said no. You have to kind of search between because people are also commenting.
Take it out.
Truth Set You Free also says no. So I don't know what you have in the WhatsApp.
All right. So in the WhatsApp, I have Afia Lashley saying no. Captain Ron says no. Dre says yes. Horatio says no. And Joseph Clement says no. Any others coming in there last?
Michael Oliver says no. And that's the only one that came in, so you could probably end it there.
All right. Right. So the polls are now closed. So we had 33 people voting on the poll this morning. 29 of you said no, and 4 of you said yes. So I guess people are not in favor of changing the name of the Soca Warriors. So 29 says no, and 4 says yes. So polls are officially closed, and I have no paper to crumple up like Richard this morning.
Yeah. So the poll is now closed, people. So if you vote now, it doesn't matter. We're not counting it. So that's it for the poll for this morning. So now we can get into our interview with Larry Lalla, Senior Counsel, of course, and that's up next. Good morning, Larry Lalla, Senior Counsel, and welcome to the Breakfast Show.
Good morning, Richard Raghubar Singh and Sir Charles.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us on the Breakfast Show this morning. Lots happening, in terms of what's going on in the country, and certainly in terms of the legislation and stuff that's come to the fore since the election. You've had a spate of legislation. I mean, and some of it, according to be fair to the UNC, according to the mandate, according to what they said on the platform. That's what I tried to say. So some of it is connected to that.
Some of it, we don't know where it's coming from. No.
So I don't know if we could start off with a kind of general overview in your mind of where you see the legislative agenda going thus far. If you have a kind of overview or concerns generically before we get into the actual details?
My feel of it is that the Prime Minister is testing the waters to see what they could be probably implement, what the population has an appetite for, what they'll be pushed back on, and I mean, I would hate to think that all these headline legislative items that we're seeing is really an attempt at distraction. The government going in there and realize that they can't deliver on the money promises that they made during the campaign. I would hate to think so, but time will tell. Raising the drinking age to 21, it sounds good, but when you really think about it, I'm not too sure that it's a good idea. I would like to hear more. I would like to see what statistics there are that is driving this move. I mean, I know in the States, the age is 21, at least in most states. In Florida it is. But we're a different society, Unlike there, we have a lot of young people who are from the age of 16, 17, away from school, going out and having to find work and enter the job market. In their free time, they want to recreate. What are they going to do? If not alcohol, then are they going to find something else, to use? I don't know. I mean, where are the statistics, Richard?
Yeah, I was a little. I am not in support of it. I'm like, if you want to raise the age of majority, raise the age of majority.
Yeah.
But the data, if you look at the data internationally with regard to alcohol use among Gen Zers, it's dropped.
It's dropped.
In fact, Gen Zers drink on average 10% to 15% less than previous generations. And not only are they drinking less, they're drinking less in quantity because they don't see alcohol as a big attraction as previous generations did. So I was also curious about what's motivating this. Is this just, I feel, is like a kind of parental push on the part of governance where they feel that your parent, I find all the drinking too much, or I find, I'm not based on any data, I just find you shouldn't be drinking at 18, or I don't know what it's being motivated by, because nobody has presented any data. People, even the experts are talking about in a kind of generic way, this is what cannabis does, this is what alcohol does. But what's the data in terms of young people in Trinidad and Tobago?
And that is why I raised the point. We get in these headline legislative items, and is it that they're just being thrown out to distract the population from the government's lack of performance? I don't know. I mean, I was looking at a video on TikTok, not from Trinidad, but the person was making the point that the Gen Z, they don't recreate the way previous generations did. They're not into all this amount of clubbing and partying. They do things a little differently, and it ties into your point. And I think for this to go forward, we're going to have to see statistics. I am not aware that we have a problem, a serious problem of alcohol abuse by persons between the age of 18 and 21. I'm not aware that we have a serious drunk driving problem involving persons between 18 and 21, at least more than any other age group. So I want to see what are the statistics that is driving this thing that we've just heard of. I don't think it was mentioned during the election campaign. I don't recall hearing it. So it'll be interesting to see.
They did talk about it on the platform of raising the age for alcohol usage and the issue of marijuana usage and gambling at the age of 25.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were discussing that, and I was saying, what a strange platform promise. This was me talking with Wendell and stuff on the show. And I say, because a lot of those people in that demographic vote, and you're now affecting them. One, in terms of their ability to recreate. One, and two, how is this going to be done? Are you criminalizing it? Are you, in other words, if you smoke marijuana and between the ages of 18 to 24, are you somehow going to get a criminal offense on your record?
Yeah.
Is it going to be a ticket for $100 so it's not a record issue? How are you dealing with it? Because if for example, you are criminalizing it, I would be vehemently opposed, because you're now making a vulnerable group who are now about to start their work life by giving them criminal records. And so many places ask for police records now. So why would you do that to that group?
Yeah, and I think it's Gary Griffith who made an interesting point. You know, so the present age is 18, but where's the enforcement? When last was someone charged for selling alcohol to someone under 18 in this country? You know, I don't recall ever hearing it done.
Yeah.
So I mean, all right, you raise the age to 21, and what? You know, so all of these things need to be thought out, and I'm certain that going forward, we're going to hear a lot more about it in the public domain.
Yeah, I wanted to also, but of course, there were several things that have cropped up from a legislative point of view. And I mean, if we time travel back, we could start off with probably the Prime Minister's pension legislation, which had retroactive effect to specifically target Stuart Young. That's how many people read it. That's how I read it. And I think any logical person is going to read it. That's what it was.
I'm not too sure I heard anyone ask the question, well, all right, before you arrive at the date March 10th, you know, what was the rationale for it? The only rationale has to be that it was meant to target former Prime Minister Stuart Young.
Yeah.
You know,
what would you take on that legislation? And of course, independent senators were criticized or criticized in advance and assigned political allegiances by some of the commentators in the UNC government, and which kind of riled some people the wrong way. A lot of people the wrong way. Why are you criticizing the independent senators before they even voted? And of course, the Law Association felt irritated enough. I'm using the word irritated, and may not be irritated, but felt compelled enough to issue a statement on that issue about the independent senators. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that the government has not begun its term of office with grace, but it's behaving as though it's still in opposition, attacking everyone who has a role that is separate and apart from the government to play in the society. And I think the attacks are very unfortunate. But, you know, let them go ahead the way they're going, and we'll see where they end up. You know, I was against the legislation that targeted former Prime Minister Stuart Young. It was ad hominem legislation. I think it was wrong. We would not have seen such legislation pass if he had won the election. We would not have probably not seen such legislation if he had not called the election when he did. The fact is, when he went into office, when he assumed office, he was entitled to certain benefits when he ceased office. And I think in principle, it is wrong after the fact to go ahead and to pull the rug out from under him, as the case may be. He might decide to challenge it in the courts and to the Privy Council. We'll see where that goes. But I was not in support of it, and I make no qualms about, you know, making my position public.
Do you think he should challenge it?
That's a matter entirely up to him. From a legal point of view, it would be interesting to see if it is challenged, what the courts would rule on that issue.
Yeah. In terms of the proposed Chancellor of the Judiciary,
yeah.
What's your take on that? Because that's still a little vague, I guess.
It's very vague. It's not vague. It's very vague.
What the intent of that would be, but what's your take on that and where that is going?
that's a next issue. I mean, I can't recall ever hearing that on the platform during the campaign.
No, I can't remember hearing that either. Yeah,
and I'm wondering where it's coming from, and that's why I made the point. Are these things being thrown out just to make headlines and to cause distraction? And the Prime Minister has a track record of doing that. When last she was the Prime Minister, in relation to the Privy Council issue, I don't know if you recall. She threw out the issue of leaving the Privy Council. It caused a lot of hullabaloo and a lot of media attention. And then she said, well, just for criminal matters. And eventually the whole thing died down and became a non-issue. So I wonder whether we're seeing the same political strategy all over again. But in any event, having a chancellor for the judiciary is not necessarily a bad idea, but we need to hear more. I think anyone would admit that the judiciary does not operate as efficient as it should. I think it's important in our country to have an efficiently operating judiciary, not just for us who live in the country, but these are difficult economic times. You want to attract investors. One of the first things that investors look at when they're going to a country, and these serious investors, is the efficiency of the judicial system and how quickly would it be, how easy would it be for them to get justice in the event that things go awry with their investment. So I think an efficient judiciary is something that we all have an interest in obtaining. Right now, the judiciary is far from what we would call an efficient judiciary. Judgments are taking far too long. There's a story in the newspaper today in relation to the prosecution related to Dana Sitahal's assassination. That has been before the courts for a very long time. The DPP has said, well, look, there's nothing unusual about the length of time it is taking. So there's a need for something to be done. The question is, what do we do? And I think there has to be consultation to figure out what will be done and how it will be done. I was doing some very, very superficial research, and the Chancellor of the Judiciary in the UK is a member of cabinet. And is it that is the plan, or is it that the plan is to have the Chancellor be a member of the judiciary? If it is going, and I think either way, if the person is going to be part of the cabinet or part of the judiciary, we will need to amend the constitution. So we need to find out more what is the proposal. We need to hear from the judiciary what are their views. We need to get statistics from the court as to what are the number of outstanding judgments, and whether there are any other ways that the required efficiency could be achieved separate and apart from having a chancellor. So I believe that going forward, there is going to be a lot of discussion on this issue.
Yeah.
There must be input and feedback from everyone who has an interest.
Yeah. I mean, you're raising some interesting points here, because the Chancellor of the Judiciary, I think the basic question is, who's your reporting officer? Are you reporting to the Chief Justice, or are you reporting to the Prime Minister? Because that would already start to color the direction in which that position goes. And the whole separation of powers, which is the fundamental core of any democracy, that separation of powers and those checks and balances.
Yeah.
If you start to cross-pollinate it with a position, it starts to wither those lines.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a concern. So what exactly? Because in hearing the discussion, albeit vague at this point, it seems that a lot of what they're suggesting the Chancellor do is what the court administrator was kind of doing anyway, who is the accounting officer for the judiciary anyway, which I know Master Christine Allen, what's her surname again? I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I mean, I know who you're speaking about. I know the good lady.
Yeah, but she, I mean, Morris Allen, sorry, Christina Morris Allen. She was the court administrator for a while, and that basically was a function. I know in my previous place when we liaised with the judiciary, a lot of times it was through Mrs. Morris Allen. We would speak with her in terms of the concerns, or have a meeting with her and her team in terms of resolving issues with regard to the judiciary, whether it be the magistracy or the bench. And so that chancellor is a little curious. Maybe it may be beneficial in making the judicial system more efficient, but I think we really do need more clarification and where the reporting relationships lie.
Yeah.
In terms of those separation of powers and those kinds of issues.
Yeah.
And of course, you had stand your ground legislation. That hasn't really, it's mentioned, but it's not come to pass yet.
Yeah, I saw that the Prime Minister was saying it will be introduced in September. So we'll have to wait to see what that looks like as well.
You know, I felt, I've said on this program, I don't know if it's to the irritation of some, but it's just my opinion that I felt the current administration, one, seems to have been bitten by a conservative bug. So they're leaning more conservative and more right-wing than I've ever seen any government in Trinidad and Tobago before.
Well, some would say it's the Trump bug.
It seems. Well, I didn't even go to Trump. I said it almost seems like a copy and paste of some of the things of the Republican Party. So the liberalizing. I'm using that word very cautiously. The suggested liberalizing of FULs. One. That's one. The stand your ground legislation is an obvious copy and paste almost of what holds in certain states like Florida. You have the age limits of 21 and stuff for drinking and stuff. That's unique, really, only to the United States, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
in Europe,
in Florida, I know Florida because I have a daughter there. I mean, I know that is the limit.
But I think it's across a lot of the states.
Yeah, I mean,
there is that. But like in Europe, it's 18, and so the US is kind of an outlier generally with regard to that. The Homeland Security, the naming of it as Homeland Security, the withdrawal of the security details of former Prime Minister Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young, which I felt was ungracious. I
like that word.
and so, but it's exactly what President Trump did with regard to Joe Biden.
It's lacking grace, and I mean, and we're seeing a lot of actions being taken by this government that is lacking grace. I mean, all these firings that are taking place, left, right, and center. It's as though you have let loose the children, and they're playing with their powers. But as I said earlier, we'll see where all that goes.
Yeah, and I mean, as I always tell people, you want whatever administration is in power to succeed. So you want the UNC to succeed. You want them to succeed as a government, because if you succeed, we all succeed in terms of lifting the population, lifting people in terms of the living wage, which is a discussion. What's a good living wage for citizens across the country, because so many people are struggling, and now 19,000 plus are on the breadline because of certain policy decisions made. And so it gets you a little concerned, because you have a vested interest, at least for me, this is how I look at it. I know people may have their political lens into how they see politics, and some people are hardcore PNM and some people are hardcore UNC. I am hardcore Trinidadian and Tobagonian. So I'm like, I want you to succeed. But if you do things that I do not agree with, I will let you know that I do not agree with that, or I will question what is your purpose in going in that direction. But ultimately, I want you to succeed. Because when you succeed, it lifts the rest of the country. It lifts us collectively. And that has always been a grouse in terms of the oppositional politics that we have here, that there are certain projects that parties should get behind regardless of political ideology.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's some UNC projects that are going to come forth in the next 5 years, and the PNM may be hesitant. I don't know if they will be, but if it's good for the country, support it.
Yeah.
And similarly, if the PNM did a project and it is good for the country, support it. Because we are too small to be so fractious and always quarreling and where the rest of the world is moving ahead. They don't really care if we squabbling, you know.
The point that I often make is that our politics is an expensive politics. You know, it results in a lot of wastage in the country. You know, and we have to find a way to do things differently. You know, when one government comes in and they just abandon all the projects that were initiated by the other government, all the money that was spent, you know, it's a waste of resources. You know, I'm concerned with what has happened at WASA, where you had all that money being spent for that plan that was embarked upon, and someone went in there and just decided, all right, throw over the table, let everything go to waste, and let us start afresh. I mean, I don't understand it, but that's just me.
Yeah, and I mean, you have so many projects. If you look at Nebraska, there's so many projects ongoing, and through IDB loans.
Yeah.
But I assume when it comes to international loans like that, those kind of projects continue.
Because that's how things should operate.
Yeah, because there's a commitment.
Yeah.
But are you optimistic? Are you hopeful? I mean, beyond the policy decisions taken with CPEP and the Forestry Division, which I've articulated on the show, it indicates a lack of empathy. I felt, and the world seems to be lacking in empathy generally. Even on social media, people are cruel and harsh and disgusting in a lot of what they say, rather than just discussing issues. And I felt it showed a lack of empathy in terms of putting 19,000. Even if you had to do an audit, do the audit in a manageable
when
way.
you find wrongdoing, you know, have the decisions made based on some sort of evidence, rather than just make decisions. You know, throw people on the breadline and then look to see what is the evidence of wrongdoing. You know, it's inhumane, to say the least.
Yeah, it was pretty harsh, and of course, and I think for a lot of Trinidadians and Tobagonians, it was harsh.
Yeah.
Even supporters of the UNC, I think, felt that some of them would have been affected anyway. In terms of losing those jobs.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people felt it a little.
In a lot of these instances, Richard, you're dealing with persons who are the most economically vulnerable in our country. You know, and these are people who living hand to mouth, as they say, and you throw them on the breadline, and you know, you consider the difficulties for themselves, their families. You know what it does to crime, what it does to, you know, so the burden on social services. You know, I think the repercussions from those things, we're going to start feeling them very soon.
Yeah.
They're not going to be positive.
In terms of the I mean, you would have been in the belly of the UNC for a long time. What do you think of...
The belly is the word.
Well, you know, it's a euphemism. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the people that have been put in certain positions, good fits or square pegs and round holes? In some of the key positions, I mean, I suppose some people you'll be more familiar with than others, because some of them.
Right. So, I mean, I could say a lot of things, but let me try and control myself. When a government comes into place, a new government, I think the population looks forward to seeing persons who are competent, people who have a track record of achievements and performance in these respective fields in which they're placed. I think in relation to this government, we have seen very few of those. One would be the Minister of Education. I think, you know, he has expertise in his field. The Minister of Health, certainly. the Attorney General, the Minister of Justice. Apart from those, there aren't many others that you could point to say, look, these
Minister
are
of Trade. I thought the Minister of Trade was a good choice.
Minister of Trade, yeah, very good choice.
Yeah.
Very good choice, Mr. Kamal Maraj. Very good choice. There aren't many others that we could point to.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Are you optimistic? I mean, you may have a lens in through which you see the UNC at this point in your life, but are you optimistic about them being able to achieve, the current administration being able to achieve and moving Trinidad and Tobago forward?
I would like to see any government that is in place succeed, because as the country we live in, we want what is best for our country. From what I've seen so far, I'm not optimistic.
Yeah.
Because you start off by not putting the best people forward. In this government, all right, where's Basan Bharat, who was part of the campaign, who I believe has a lot to offer. When last he was in government, you speak to people in customs, you speak to people in Ministry of Agriculture, he did very well. Where's Kevin Ramarine, who I think, has shown that he has a lot of expertise, and you speak to people in the industry, they had a lot of regard for him. Where is he? So there are a lot of people that you would have thought they would have been part of the government. They're not. And in their place, you have persons who have not shown and who have no track record or qualifications in some of the fields in which they're placed.
Yeah. But I know Dr. Munilal is the Minister of Energy.
He has shown
he's a seasoned politician, so
so he's a quick study.
Yeah.
He's able to pick things up quickly and run with it. So he should perform pretty well, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Are you willing to take some calls from our listeners?
It is 10 for 5 minutes because I have to run off to an appointment. But yeah,
okay.
Sure.
So we could take 5 minutes of calls. Well, maybe 4 now, but so we could open up the lines at this point. So Charles, so 281-1315. We could take some calls. Of course, we're talking to Larry Lalla, Senior Counsel, and of course we're talking governance, legislation, the legislative agenda. At least what we've seen so far, and whether you agree with it or not. But we're about commenting on diverse views. Keep it respectful. We're that kind of show. And so you can have differing opinions. That's fine, but keep it respectful. And in terms of how you see where the current government is going. So the lines are now open: 281-1315, 281-1315.
All right. So we have some calls coming in. Caller, good morning to you. Welcome. Okay, I lost the call. Yes. Oh my word. Sorry about that, Richard.
All right. Okay. So 281-1315. You can call us. We're speaking with Larry Lalla, Senior Counsel. Concerning you would have heard what we were discussing about all of the various issues in terms of the legislative agenda, as indicated thus far by the UNC administration. And what we've seen so far come to pass.
So while we wait on the cause, Mr. Lalla, you directly also have identified the judiciary and the lack of performance, the inefficiencies, the backlogs, the delays, the accessibility issues, all of those things that the public we are well aware of. And you also identified that, there's much to be found out about what this new chancellor is going to do and how it is going to function. A lot of it, and I hold the government responsible for putting out things and not really giving the public all the information. But I suppose as we go along, that information will come. But if we all recognize that it's not working and there's a need to fix it, why is it that people are so skeptical as to if this can work, and more or less speaking in the terms as if it's going to be a failure?
Well, I mean, we're not skeptical, but we can't say much because we lack information. And it's not our fault we lack information. It's the person who made the announcement.
Yes.
You know, so it's a very important issue. And you would hope that within a short space of time, we would have clarity from the government as to how they plan or they propose to go about making this very significant change in the judiciary.
All right, we have a caller there. Caller, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning. I would like to find out something. Why do companies advertise their products or business advertise their products? The reason I ask that, I want to believe there is real data on this thing because if there were any data at all, right, Angostura would not have brought Vice Starter here to get young people to drink, which means enough young people is not drinking. Thank you.
Okay, I suppose that's more of a statement than a question. So we're still taking your call. 281-1315, 281-1315. We have about 3 minutes left with Larry Lalla, Senior Counsel. So take advantage. This is where we open the lines for you to get interactive. So make use of it. You know, some of our leaders want to run the show and say, "Oh, we don't take calls."
Yeah. But going back to the unknown, to the question also, Mr. Lalla, is it that people are so scared of the unknown as to why they feel they're having so much questions where this new chancellor and other things that have been put into the public domain, fear of the unknown or track record of the government when they were last in government?
I mean, I think with politicians in general, you know, you hear something new and you're very skeptical, you know, and it's just our nature. You know, the population tend to be very wary of hearing things from politicians, our politicians, because, you know, there will be arguments that the politics has not really served the country well. It's very divisive. And therefore, you know, there's that concern when things are first heard, you know, and look, the Prime Minister should know better than to just throw something like that out and not give some more information as to what is the intention, because it's a very important issue when you're dealing with the independence of the judiciary. People are going to get very concerned when you raise something. You should give the population a bit more clarity when you're speaking on that issue, and it comes back to my first concern. You know, is this one of those things that are just thrown out there just to, you know, create one sort of hype and distraction and not really having a lot of substance to it?
Yeah. Caller is there with us. Caller, good morning to you.
Morning, Chalo. Morning, Mr. Lalla.
Good morning.
Morning again.
Morning.
You know, this matter of alcohol and marijuana use and gambling. You know, I observing a little while now. I outside there a good one. You remember these songs long time we had Rum Till I Die, Rum Is My Lover?
Yep.
Remember them songs?
Yep.
That was affecting a certain ethnic group, right? And they kick against it. No. The majority of young people right now not drinking rum again, they're smoking marijuana. Marijuana and root boy and Red Bull. You understand? So this alcohol consumption, it goes back to a certain ethnic group again. Look at my rivers and certain places you see going on. Gambling now. I know a lot of people who just make a living out of play with every day. You understand that? Chalo, you know that?
I'm listening to you. Go ahead, Mr. Patrick. Make a statement.
I know people every day that play a mark and make money to survive. So I don't know what it is going on, at what age group you go want a big married man or a big married woman to play with. If she had to be 25, when people were married at 18 and 19.
All right. Okay, no problem. Thanks very much, Mr. Patrick. One more caller there before Mr. Lalla has to go. Hello, good morning to you, caller.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Charles.
Morning
I would
to you.
like to find out from Mr. Lalla his position on the announcement by the Prime Minister that she would not be replacing the Privy Council. I want to know if he feels that we should remove ourselves from the Privy Council and join the CCJ. What is his view? What is your opinion on it?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, Mr. Lalla had to have a conversation with somebody off camera. I don't know if he can come back on, because I know he had to leave because he had an appointment, so which he indicated previously.
Yeah, and apparently, because it looks like he's gone.
Yeah. So I know he had an appointment, and so I think that he was coming up. It may have been virtual, so he wouldn't be able to answer. He did touch on it, though. He did touch on the issue of the Privy Council and saying in the last iteration of the UNC, the Prime Minister then, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, had indicated about moving out of the Privy Council, and then said only, moving out, but then said only for, was it criminal matters and stuff like that. So that Privy Council thing is always a to and fro in, in terms of politicians on both sides of the divide. But it takes a constitutional majority to change it. So whoever is eventually doing it, it will require consensus on both sides of the aisles in terms of eventually removing the Privy Council as the highest court in Trinidad and Tobago.
But the thing about it is that, for issues like this, when there is clearly, especially where the politics and the politicians are concerned, there's a divide along the people holding their party lines. I don't know. Our constitution probably doesn't cater for it, but maybe it's time that we start to, just as we talk about constitutional reform, that we start to look at introduction of things like referendums and stuff, so you could take it to the people directly on some of these issues, and that way we would get a better flow. At least when we make some of those decisions, it is basically the people who decided where they wanted to go.
And I hear you. That's a mixed bag for me. Sometimes you need there is a positive aspect to referendums, but sometimes governments have to make decisions that may not be popular, but are decisions that are necessary. Mm-hmm. So it's a mixed bag. Governance is not easy. And especially with regard to your perspective of where you see the country goes. So the UNC may have a particular vision of where they see the country goes, but it may not always align. Let's say it may not always align with my personal vision of where I see the country is going. So I will comment through the lens in which I see it. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you will comment on the lens in which you see it. Wendell will comment on the lens in which he sees it. And some things I will say, yeah, I agree with that. And some things I will say, hell no, I don't agree with that. And but that's the nature of democracy, and the important part of democracy is our ability to say so.
Because clearly
you can't say so. In some countries you can't oppose.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning, caller.
Richard.
Yeah, morning.
Wouldn't it be beneficial to the small man to join the CCJ in terms of they cannot afford if you don't have deep pocket as a layman or the man?
Absolutely, it will be more economical. Absolutely, it will be more economical to go to the CCJ. Yeah.
And the cost would be greatly reduced because the CCJ is based here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, it would be more economical for the layman, so to speak, to file actions to the highest court. Because it's much more expensive to go to the Privy Council.
Yeah, apparently you really have to have money to be able to challenge some of those things.
Yeah.
You
What you
really-
have in terms of death penalty cases is that you have a series of firms in the UK that will do those kinds of cases at reduced fees or pro bono because of the anti-death penalty movement across the planet. Remember in the West, if you know, all the times people get passionate about the death penalty, kill them, whatever, and most of those voices are very hardcore Christians or very hardcore religious people, by the way. And which always puzzles me. It's like, what? You're all the religious ones who believe in God and forgiveness, and you're the ones who say, kill them, hang them high. But that's the nature of the strangeness that makes up what human beings are. But you know, I'm an abolitionist. I don't believe.
Yes, definitely.
I don't believe the death penalty has any place on any statute. I don't believe the government should have the power to kill any of its citizens. But of course, there are contrary opinions to that. But interestingly enough, if you look at the Western Hemisphere, the only countries that have the death penalty are some states in the United States and the English-speaking Caribbean and maybe Haiti or Cuba. That's it. I didn't think Cuba still has it. But the majority of the countries in the Western Hemisphere don't have the death penalty.
Don't have.
You know, so it's... And some of those countries are more violent in many ways than we are, but they don't have the death penalty. But it is what it is. But you know what? We're talking, Sir Charles, and it's time for the 8 o'clock news. I said, oh my God, we are finally going to be on time with the 8 o'clock news. And then both of us continue to yap. So the 8 o'clock news is next.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Thursday, July 10th, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. Medical experts are supporting Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar's proposal to raise the legal drinking age to 21 and marijuana use to 25, citing brain development and public health concerns. Former Health Minister Dr. Fuad Khan emphasized that alcohol and marijuana are widely abused and poorly regulated locally, warning that youth are mixing marijuana with other substances, leading to family breakdown and addiction. Dr. Joel Tiluk Singh explained that the human brain matures around age 25, and early substance use affects judgment, learning, and mental health. Dr. Varma Dale Singh highlighted alcohol's links to domestic violence and health issues while noting marijuana's role in motivation problems and reduced fertility. The proposed changes have received mixed public reactions. Psychiatrist Dr. Nimal Gokul has endorsed raising the marijuana age limit to 25, citing strong connections between early cannabis use and serious mental health risks. Gokul noted that early use increases schizophrenia risk, especially in those with genetic predisposition, and continued use can worsen existing mental illness. However, he cautioned that clarity is needed on enforcement, particularly regarding existing decriminalization laws. Gokul questioned whether raising the age would recriminalize young people and urged the government to provide details and safeguards before enacting legislation. Former local government minister Faris Al-Rawi is warning that 5,000 URP workers may soon lose their jobs following what he termed the government's callous treatment of CPEP employees. At yesterday's press conference, Al-Rawi said 20,000 CPEP workers were dismissed over 7 weeks, criticizing media coverage and claiming the cuts disproportionately affect specific demographics. Former Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Amory Brown criticized Prime Minister Persad-Bissessar for missing the 2025 CARICOM conference in Jamaica, saying her absence sent the wrong message with Interpol's Secretary General in attendance. Attorney Martin George has been granted $150,000 bail after being charged with indecent assault and grievous sexual assault of a female attorney at his Dundonald Street chambers in March. The 58-year-old appeared before Master Indira Chinebas yesterday and was not required to plead. His bail conditions include staying 500 meters away from the complainant and having no contact with her. George, who practices civil and criminal law, chairs the Tobago Business Chamber, and formerly served on the Police Service Commission. The matter returns to court on October 7th. Gary Aboud of Fishermen and Friends of the Sea is calling for a full necropsy on a whale shark found dead near a Chaguaramas hotel. The massive marine animal was first spotted alive on Saturday near Peak Yacht Services Marina before swimming away. By Wednesday morning, it was found dead with a visible back wound. Aboud urged authorities to determine if the death resulted from vessel strike, plastic ingestion, or hydrocarbon pollution, emphasizing that we cannot protect what we don't understand. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In regional news, Caribbean countries will benefit from a renewed agreement between the Pan American Health Organization and Bloomberg Philanthropies to improve birth and death registration systems. The Data for Health initiative will help modernize registries and increase accuracy of cause of death data, as some Caribbean nations have over 20% of deaths going unrecorded. The project runs through 2027 and includes training on international classification standards and regional workshops. The Pan American Health Organization also launched an interactive dashboard to track respiratory virus trends across the region. In international news, Ukraine has endured its most intense aerial assault since the war began, with 728 drones and 13 missiles striking cities nationwide. President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed the overnight bombardment, calling it a telling message amid stalled ceasefire talks. The attack comes as US President Donald Trump reverses a brief suspension of military aid to Kiev, with reports of 10 Patriot missiles being sent. Trump, increasingly frustrated with Vladimir Putin, warned of possible 500% tariffs on nations trading with Russia. Western Ukrainian cities, including Lutsk, Lviv, and Rivne, were hit, while Russia reported 3 deaths from Ukrainian drone strikes in Kursk. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Great news, Caribbean. The Breakfast Show is now on M&E TV, bringing you entertaining conversations, vital information, and influential perspectives throughout Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean region. Catch us on Judicial Channel 20, Flow Channel 111, Amplia Channel 117, Blink Channel 109, Tricode Channel 154, and Airlink Channel 10. The Breakfast Show connects with the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago like never before. We're now on M&E TV.
Looking for trusted, affordable security and property services? Horatio Services has you covered across Trinidad and Tobago. We offer battle security, canine patrols, 24/7 protection, and all sorts of private investigations, discreet, professional, and effective. But that's not all. We also provide construction. From building to renovation, we bring your vision to life. Landscaping, keep your outdoors looking sharp and inviting. Maintenance, repairs, upkeep, and everything in between. At Horatio Services, you get professionalism, reliability, and personal care. Whether it's safety or property support you need, visit us at Marino Street, Arima, or call 388-7070. Today, Horatio Services, protection, precision, peace of mind.
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17 come enjoy Children Iron Chef Competition. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Yes. Okay, so we are back right here on the TT Radio. It's so we have just a couple minutes.
Yeah, before we sign off and close off the show for this morning, on the breakfast show on New Era TT Radio. So interesting conversation with Larry Lalla, Senior Counsel, and this morning. I mean, whether I know some people may disagree with him because he crossed the lines or whatever, but he still has, opinions, and he's a senior counsel, so he will see things through intellectual legal framework of how he sees stuff. So it's always interesting to have, people of differing opinions and of how they see where the country is going on the program. Interesting conversation, I'd say.
Yeah, I think it was very enlightening. But recognizing where we are at and what we need to do, we have plenty of work to do. So I think it was good of him to recognize the fact that the judiciary is not functioning well, and we need to try and fix it one way or the other. All right.
Yep. I don't think anybody will disagree with that. Because you can't have people waiting years and years for matters to be resolved. That's not tenable.
Yeah, let's take this call before we go. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Sir Charles. Good
Morning,
morning,
Zena.
Richard.
Good morning.
I don't know what Richard Trout has what he said there. I know it was going directly for people like me.
What is
that?
that?
Quarrel and say we don't take calls, but then there's no need to call somebody if you don't have a question for them. Because I had my own opinion about what you all were talking about, but I didn't have a question for Mr. Lalla. And most times we wanted to ask questions, we want to discuss certain topics, Richard. And I thought we would have more time to call this morning, but darling, I think when Wendell and there, it's even worse with you. You're on stage, Papa, you.
I thought you called.
And I heard him trying to bait me yesterday. I know he know that I would call to quarrel with him this morning.
Oh, okay.
Because as you say, I like to quarrel. He said fighting was in train since Zina was a little girl going to school.
I lie? If I lie, tell me a lie. Say a lie. Say you're wrong.
Yes. Oh, I don't say when you went too far behind me now.
But you yourself say
you on retirement stepping already for you.
But you, Zena, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you at some point say that you were battle axe in school?
Yes, I used to fight.
And he called this morning to quarrel. And he called to quarrel this morning. So yeah.
Yes.
Zena, you're on point this morning.
Yes, Richard. I did. So, but why you had to refer to me? You had to call my name because you want to hear if I listen. So
it's all love. It's all love. You know you are loved by this program.
The question I would have had for Mr. Lalla, it's kind of personal.
Yeah,
I
well,
didn't
all right.
want to ask him on the air. Because I would have asked him if he see that the P&M lost, if he still want to stick around with us.
That would be a good question.
I know he would dance.
Like that question, Sir Charles. You get energized, the most energized.
Yes, I love that question. You should text me that question, man, Zina.
But you know, but I don't only want a topic, and you
Zina?
would have both me to say we are not on that topic, Zina.
Zina.
So I'll stay away from it.
Zina,
Yes?
that is a very important question because it have some people not prepared to put in the hard work, eh? When things look good, they're there. So yeah, thanks much.
But Zina, thank you for the call this morning. But this is where the show comes to an end. So,
oh Lord, Zina, why didn't text me that question, Zina?
So, I want to say, have a fantastic day, whatever you do. Remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health. The weekend begins tonight, people, at a second after midnight. And, we always remind you, we love weekends. And, of course, tomorrow's show is all about you. We don't have any guests. So we are going to be speaking with you on whatever topics you want to talk about. Friday, we keep it kind of free, freewheeling in that sense. So you can look forward to that tomorrow. And it's the weekend. So have a fantastic day. Of course, the stream continues, newerattradio.com or on TuneIn, New Era TT Radio, where you can continue to listen to us via your internet or on your smart devices. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do. Remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health.
Yeah, and of course, we hope that we'll have Wendell back tomorrow.
Yeah. So this has been The Breakfast Show.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The Breakfast Show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay